Hello, thank you for tuning in. My name's Steve. This is Everyman Fragrances. Today I want to talk to you about a fragrance from the house of Perfume Parlour. I'm sure most of you know who those guys are. This fragrance that I'm talking about today I paid for with my own money, absolutely not sent to me. I bought this 30ml fragrance which is called Verdant 0533, which is their take on Greenley from the house of Parfums de Marly. I paid, they've got lots of different concentration versions now. I've got the EDP version, so their standard version in their fairly nondescript kind of label. And this cost me, I used a 10% off code. I think it cost me about 14 quid. So let's get into this. The reason I've bought this fragrance is because my buddy Mike at the Cologne podcast absolutely loves Greenley by Parfums de Marly. It's one of his favourite fragrances of all time. He's finished a bottle, he's on to his second bottle. His partner in crime and, dare I say it, a lover, Ryan, also loves that fragrance. He likes it when Mike wears it when they wrestle. So I thought I should really give this fragrance another go. I did record an episode with those guys a long time ago and I tried it then and I was a bit underwhelmed. I thought it was a perfectly pleasant fragrance, but I didn't love it. I didn't quite get the hype that Mike was giving it, but I thought, you know what, I should revisit it, but I didn't want to drop loads of money. The Perfume Parlour version seems to be really well rated. Some people in a Facebook group that I'm in said they loved it. It's really close. They sold their original bottle because they didn't see the point because the Perfume Parlour version was so good. So I thought, you know what, for 14 quid, I'll bloody give it a go. So for this video, I will be giving you a full review of Verdant 0533 as a fragrance in its own right, and I will be comparing it to original version of Greenley by Parfums de Marly. I've got a tiny little sample that I've been doing a comparison with. Shout out to Dales who sent me this little sample. So as I say, I'm going to talk about a comparison. Probably I'll start with that, how they compare, and then I'll sort of talk about the fragrance as a whole and if I like it. Officially, the notes for Greenley, at the top there's mandarin, orange, bergamot and apple. In the mid there's petitgrain, cashmerean, cedar, pomerose, fuck knows what that is, and violet, and in the base there's oak moss, musk and amberwood. What do I personally get from this fragrance? In the opening, I do not get hardly any mandarin, which is a shame because I love that note. It's one of my favourite notes, particularly in fresher fragrances, but I don't really get any of that. I get some of the bergamot, but the apple is the most prominent note in the opening to my nose. Now, apple is a funny note for me because I often find in fragrances that it can smell very, very synthetic. So Fine Apple by Gallagher Fragrances, for example, I've done a review on my channel and I really didn't enjoy that. I just found that to be very, very synthetic, and it reminded me of like a apple sours, like this sort of drink that was drunk by chavs in nightclubs back in the day, in the UK at least. So I did not enjoy that fragrance. Now this one, the apple in this one, I would say does not smell nowhere near as synthetic as that. I wouldn't say it smells overly natural, though what does an actual real apple smell of really? It's not that kind of, I don't know, it's not that distinct. But I would say this smells not, it doesn't smell really synthetic, not completely natural either, but it smells very pleasant. I do quite like the apple. Again, it's probably not my favourite notes if I'm being honest, but I don't mind it. I sort of quite like it in this fragrance. As it starts to dry down more, it gets progressively more woody, and that wood base, that woody base, does have a very, as mentioned earlier, it's just very smooth and kind of almost kind of, I don't want to say powdery, but it's just got this very kind of smooth. I know I use the word smooth a lot, but it is a very smooth wood with a sort of hint of kind of clean powderiness, probably coming from the musk. And it does have, as I mentioned earlier, that similar effect to ambroxan in that regard. So it doesn't smell like ambroxan, but it certainly has that similar effect. So the opening is quite fresh, but as it dries down, like people talk about this being a summer fresh fragrance, and you could wear this in the summer easily, but I don't think it's as, to me, it's as fresh as people kind of claim. It's not like a real citrusy freshie to me. It is more of a clean fresh rather than a sort of real hot weather citrusy summer fresh. So I thought I'd say manage your expectations. I mean, people are talking about what kind of wearing this to the gym, and I think you could, but that woody base is definitely there and it's definitely noticeable, and for that, it's not the freshest of fragrances. So just manage your expectations on when and where you can wear this. But I do think this is perfectly suitable to be worn most days in an office in most situations. But yeah, just it's not like the fresh. To me, it's not as fresh as everybody makes it out to be. How do these two compare then is the question. Can you save your money? Do you need to buy the original Parfum de Marly Greenley, or can you save some money and get the Perfume Parlour version? In short, in my opinion, you can save your money and get the Perfume Parlour version. Unless you're an expert, unless you're a big Greenley fan, I would say Mike from the Cologne podcast could probably tell the difference by smelling this. But if you're not, if you've just smelt Greenley perhaps in store, if you like the smell of it, you smelt it on someone else and you'd like to get a bottle but it's too expensive, I would say Perfume Parlour is a really good option. It's a really good alternative. It's only smelling it side by side, or if you're an expert, that you'll sort of notice those finer sort of differences. And I would say that those differences do become less and less the more it dries down as well. So to give you a little bit of an insight and some detail on what those differences are, I would say in the opening, the Perfume Parlour version definitely doesn't smell quite as high quality, which is absolutely to be expected. The PDM version does cost a lot more, so it should smell so, in my opinion, and it does. So that's not really a slant on the Perfume Parlour version, but particularly in the opening, I would say the Parfum de Marly does smell better quality and not quite as synthetic. But as it dries down, the Perfume Parlour version does smell, smell less synthetic, and it smells better the more it dries down, which I think is true for nearly all of the Perfume Parlour fragrances that I've tried. I would say for nearly all of the ones I've smelled, you've nearly always got to give them at least 10 or 15 minutes really to kind of settle, and then you can start sort of judging them. That said, doesn't smell bad in the opening, just a little bit more synthetic and not quite as pleasant as the Parfum de Marly version. I would say quite early on, the Parfum de Marly version is more woody. I would say the woodiness comes through more, and that wood is a bit richer, and it's more noticeable. The Parfum de Marly version, the Perfume Parlour version, sorry, does smell a bit lighter, a bit more appley. I think the apple is a bit more kind of noticeable in the Perfume Parlour version, so it almost smells a bit more citrusy. And where the Parfum de Marly version, I would say the apple is there, but it smells a bit sweeter and a bit more pleasant, but not sweet as in like sickly sweet or synthetic sweet, or it doesn't smell like a sweet fragrance. So please don't understand me there, so don't misconstrue that. It just smells a little bit more of a pleasant apple. It's kind of a little bit more rounded and a bit sort of like a juicier, sweeter apple, where the Perfume Parlour version smells a little bit more kind of citrusy and a bit lighter, if that makes any sense. That's particularly in the opening. As I say, as it dries down, the PDM version, the original from Parfum de Marly, does definitely smell woodier. The wood is a little bit richer and a little bit more prominent, but still both very smooth woods. And I would just say the Parfum de Marly version does smell just a little bit smoother and just a little bit kind of sweeter, but again, I emphasize, not sickly sweet or synthetic sweet, not like a sweet fragrance, just a bit more pleasant like with it. It's just very subtle, it's somehow like that wood in it. It's kind of, I don't know if it's the amber wood that's a bit stronger, possibly in the PDM version, because that is always kind of almost a borderline. It's very smooth wood that's almost a bit sweet with it and kind of smooth. And I wonder if that's a bit more prominent in the Parfum de Marly version rather than the Perfume Parlour. So I would say of the two, if I had a choice, I would prefer the Parfum de Marly version, which is not a surprise based on the price difference. So yeah, that is If you're asking me which one smells better, I would say the Parfum de Marly. If you're asking me how close they are, I would say the Perfume Parlour version is up there. It's kind of like 85 to 90% similar, if not maybe a bit more. I don't know. It's definitely there. I do think for 14 quid this is absolutely worth a punt, and it will scratch that itch. If you really do love the original, I'd say you would probably notice that this one maybe quite doesn't have that same magic. I do prefer the Parfum de Marly version, but the Perfume Parlour is a bloody good shout, and it is pretty damn close, and for 14 quid. I think that's it really. Performance wise, the Perfume Parlour version is good. It's definitely noticeable for 2 to 3 hours. It certainly hangs around. Typically, again with Perfume Parlour versions, you can see it a little bit on your skin, so you can see that the oil on there. So they do kind of hang around for that reason. They do kind of typically last. So I would say the Perfume Parlour version lasts for sort of it's projecting for sort of 2 to 3 hours, and it lasts probably 6 to 8 hours. It sort of lasts. I can still smell it on my skin at the end of a working day, so you should get 7 hours out of it, I would say. If you go heavy, it's definitely noticeable. It's definitely there. So it should easily last a full working day. I remember wearing this to the gym, and I was a bit conscious actually. I'd only done 2 or 3 sprays, but I was a bit conscious on the treadmill that I could really smell it and it was projecting. And I was wondering if people next to me might have sort of thought, you know, who the fuck's this guy? You know, he's a bit much. So as I say, when people say that this being a fresh fragrance, I'd say manage your expectations. It is fresh, but it's more of a kind of clean, woody fresh, not a real citrusy gym fresh fragrance to me personally. I think you could wear it in the gym, but just it's not a summer freshie. So there you go. That is Verdant 0533 from the House of Perfume Parlour for 14 quid. Definitely worth a punt. If you're a connoisseur or if you're a massive kind of geek on Greenley by Parfum de Marly, you'll probably notice the difference. But if you're not, and you're not smelling it side by side, I really do think the Perfume Parlour version will scratch that itch, especially for 14 quid. Thank you for watching. Do comment below and let me know what is your favourite from the House of Perfume Parlour. What is your favourite cologne? What's your top 3, your top 5? Let me know which one should I be trying. I've not tried any for ages. They've obviously released loads in that time, so let me know what is your top pick. What is your favourite? Which ones smell better maybe than the original? I'd love to hear from you. I actually prefer the Perfume Parlour version of Elysium to the original. I really did like their version. I just felt it was a bit more juicier and I really liked it. But yeah, let me know. Do comment below. Yeah, thanks again for watching. Really appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe and all that shit. And I'll see you for a video soon. Take care. Much love.